I died, and everything in the world broke into 1,000 pieces. In the blink of an eye, everything you think you know and have ever thought is turned on its head. When we die, have you ever thought about what really happens? What would it be like to find out that everything you thought was true about your life was totally wrong? When we die, we start a trip that is so big and amazing that it changes everything we thought we knew about life. We leave the steady hum of habit and the predictable rhythm of daily life and go to a place where there are no more limits. But there's a catch. This spiritual discovery leads to a shocking realization. Could it be that everything we thought we knew about life and the future was wrong? Get ready, because what's coming next will make you question everything you believe. Come dive with us into the most mysterious parts of life. When you click subscribe, you'll be taken on a ride that will make you question everything you thought you knew. I used to be a passionate runner, and each step felt like a pulse in time with the beat of life. I loved the sound of my feet hitting the ground, but my love for this never-ending quest came with a price. The strains and accidents came on slowly, one after the other, chipping away at my joints until arthritis locked them in pain. Simple jobs turned into tough endurance tests. After each session, I still couldn't find comfort. Prayer became my safe place. I used to think of the Bible as a book of verses, but now I held on to it like it was lifeblood. When surgery became my only choice, I relied on the love of my family and the quiet power of my faith. Suddenly, on the day of the surgery, I felt calm. It was so rare that even the nurse noticed. While I was getting ready for the treatment, I felt calm because I knew that help was on the way. However, as the anesthesia spread through my blood, things started to look different. After being tied to the present moment, my mind wandered. As my beating slowed down, discomfort turned into chaos. As I fought for control and prayed for balance, panic threatened to take over. After that, nothing. It was so quiet that I thought I had crossed over into another world. The pain went away. I wasn't in my body when I opened my eyes again. I was above it and saw what was going on below. I felt detached and weightless as I flew through the hospital, gliding past doors and walls and moving through the clean hallways with ease that didn't make sense. I saw two doctors having a very serious talk in one room. One of them was wearing a black jacket that made him stand out like a shadow. Even though I couldn't hear them, something pulled me forward. I sped through the city faster and faster, cutting through the air so quickly that I didn't feel a single gust of wind. Eventually, I reached an endless space with no end in sight. Then far away, there was a point of light. I felt like I couldn't stay away from it when it called to me. I saw him when I stepped into that light. Even though he had his back to me, he made me feel warm and at ease. His long hair fell in waves, his white robe shone, and every step he took left a mark on the ground. He smiled, turned, and waved for me to get closer. I felt a wave of peace that I can't describe as I got closer. I knew deep down that I was exactly where I was supposed to be. I didn't feel scared or unsure. His hug was like coming home. There was a link that went beyond words. The memories came back all at once. I saw my life play out in front of me. I saw my victories, my acts of kindness, and all the times I had reached out to help someone else. One image stood out, walking with an old, weak woman who was smiling big, even though she was weak. At that moment, I realized how deeply satisfying it is to give without expecting anything in return. The small, quiet acts of love were more important than the big accomplishments. We are about to awaken to a truth that is so big it can't be explained. It changes everything. A wave of pride swept over me, but there was also a shadow, dark and persistent shame, that covered my heart. Unwanted memories came back to me, taking me back to a time when the constant pressure of school made me cheat. When I cheated on a test, the guilt was like a heavy stone pressing down on me. I lied to other people, but what hurt the most was that I lied to myself. In my despair, I turned to Jesus, ready for judgment and the punishment that was sure to come. But what I got instead was much deeper, a deep well of mercy and an understanding that was beyond anything I could have thought of. Even though I was scared, I felt a spark of hope as I waited for Jesus to answer. He broke the serious silence, but he didn't scold or reprimand me. He instead asked me to walk with him. As we climbed a flight of stairs together, we left the familiar behind and arrived at a peaceful haven. On the other side of a moving river, my father and grandpa were waiting for me. Their presence was as real and comforting as ever. We could connect without words. We understood each other better across that peaceful stretch than we ever could have through talking. Just the thought of seeing my beloved dead loved ones again made me feel something, an eagerness to hug them again. But Jesus kindly told me to be patient, which reminded me that I still had a lot to learn. As we walked along the peaceful riverside, we soon came across a large building whose design made us think of the timeless beauty of ancient Greece. It had a lot of information in it, a library unlike any other I had seen. There were bright figures in pure white robes moving purposefully among the shelves. They were all focused on finding knowledge. In the usual gentle way, Jesus described what this beautiful building was for. Because I was interested, I looked through the shelves until I saw a bright book. Its pages sparkled with writing I didn't understand, but I was drawn in by its beauty. Jesus told me that this library had information that went beyond what I understand now, and that it would give me endless chances to grow intellectually and spiritually. It wasn't just a place to learn, it was a haven for spiritual growth. Then, with a kindness that only he could show, Jesus gave me a book that was a record of my life. It wrote down everything that happened and every choice that was made, good or bad. He told me that his love for me would never change, no matter what I did or would do. That promise came with a choice. I could stay in this peaceful and wise place or go back to the world of the living. Even though being with him made me want to stay, my mind kept going to my family. I asked if I could see them again. I was taken to a hospital room in an instant. There they were, my loved ones, praying together and begging for mine to get better. The sight made my heart ache, and even though I wanted to stay with Jesus, I couldn't help but feel a pull to go back. The problems my mom was having and the stress she was under after my dad died affected my choice. Jesus, who was always patient, told me that if I wanted to come back, I might have to forget about this meeting. But I still told Jesus I wanted to go back, and he offered to help me out of infinite mercy. When I woke up in the hospital bed, the beeping of the monitors brought me back to the present. I felt refreshed with a power and purpose I had never known before. I knew Jesus was still with me and looking over me, even though the vision of the sky had faded. After 12 days of healing, I went back home with a stronger will. My mother and I talked about my trip through the air. At first, she didn't believe what I said. But as I told her everything, especially the part where I saw my great-grandfather, a man I had never met and had no picture of, she became less skeptical. My description of him was a perfect match, and that cleared up all of her questions. She couldn't say that what I had been through wasn't true. It opened her heart and gave her a stronger belief in the fact of heaven. Thanks for seeing it. If you liked this story, please like, subscribe, and click the bell to make sure you don't miss our next trip. Please add your thoughts to the discussion below to keep it going. Stay safe and interested. Until next time.